Hi guys, my name's Sib Tudor, I'm the man on the Silver Mountain, and welcome back. Now today I wanted to talk about this year in review, and I'm not talking my year, I'm talking about the year as a whole, stuff that I've been going over every month to one extent or another. And whilst I could go through what's happened in December, December's only about half a month really in many ways, because you get towards the end of the year and everything kind of grinds to a halt. Even the news tends to grind to a halt to one extent or another. So what I want to go over more is a case of what can we learn? What have we seen in terms of patterns, in terms of the things that have been going on, that we can learn from to better inform ourselves moving into 2018. One of the first ones is especially online, especially with YouTube, is that we have seen a mix of political ideology being mixed into things to hamper freedom of speech, to cause all manner of problems with automated systems, and to potentially pull the carpet out from under people who are trying to use this platform and other platforms like it as their livelihood, or to generate enough income for them to survive. And the disconnect between the people who are in charge and the people who are actually enriching those platforms, generating content, or working with those platforms to try and make something of themselves. It's very much the people at the top are not listening, are focusing on the wrong things, aren't paying attention to feedback, are hiding things, being disingenuous, and this is going to be a theme in what we're going to be talking about here today. But we've also seen a shift where old media is allowed to do whatever it wants, new media is running scared for no reason whatsoever other than the fact that the people in charge are spineless, and then those who have a spine, who are more willing to work with creators and work with people, are too small to succeed, and those that are running scared are too big to fail. And so this is probably going to be a trend that we're coming into the next year, and it's something to be aware of, especially people who are online, who are dealing with these various areas of either generating content or working with content. These are things, especially after the net neutrality ruling in the States recently, which by no means is the finalised end of all of these things, but is something that I'm sure we will see more of in regards to debate, in regards to argument, in regards to problems in the coming year. These are all things that we need to keep in mind. I'm wanting to put out more content for you guys. I'm wanting to put out more in terms of accessible content, especially. And yet the thing that stands out to me is some of my content is incredibly uncomfortable for people. Some of it could be considered insulting because there are people who see fact as being an insulting thing. There are people who have differing points of view and will do anything to suppress those points of view from with whatever tool they can, be it false flagged kind of DMCA things and such like, or otherwise. And then we've seen this kind of tumultuous mess of people not knowing what they want or how they want to deal with things. And so it's all stuff to keep in mind if you're either working with content, so if you're handling someone else's content, or especially if you're dealing with it yourself and making sure that you're tackling it either head on or trying to work around it as best as you can. Now, the workarounds might become even more difficult to kind of put into practice, especially if this whole net neutrality thing and the kind of naysayers and doom singers that are all working around this actually, if their prophesy come true and we start seeing ISPs kind of throttling the access to various sites and things like that based on what people are paying, then that'll be one thing, but it's all something to keep in mind and keep track of. But moving on from that, we've had the big political upheavals of the year. We've had Trump, we've had Brexit especially, and the messes around those, and it's why I've ended up talking about it almost both of these things almost every month. Trump is always doing something where he is this big head honcho at the top, and he is either crapping on the people below him or ignoring them. And so as a result, again, we're seeing this instability, this breakdown, this lack of functionality. Brexit, we've got people at the top who are lying, misinforming, ignoring others, trying to cut out the sovereign vote of Parliament in favour of their own kind of autonomy and their own authoritarian wish to rule, regardless of the fact that is the complete opposite of what was offered as part of Brexit in and of itself. It's a really bizarre set of situations that have transpired over the last year politically. But again, we're coming back to this theme of people in charge ignoring those below, and it's something that, especially in the political side of things, the governments that we have, the people who are in charge, they're put there by us, by the voting public. We don't currently live in a dictatorship, as much as it might seem like we do in certain instances. And so the erosion being caused by these toxic and caustic individuals at the top of the chain that we put there to one extent or another, we're the ones that are going to have to make the changes and have the realizations to pull those people down as well. Be that through elections, be that through petitions, be that through objection to various specific policies, be it writing to our representatives otherwise and making direct complaints against certain things being put forward, making our voices heard. All of these things are going to be incredibly important in the coming year, especially considering some of the various upsets that Trump has caused, some of the various upsets that things like Brexit and Theresa May have caused. They're all going to be incredibly important things for us to keep track of and kind of work with. I'm not sure if into the next year I'm going to continue doing a month in review or a month in Trump, but what I might do instead is take more of a look at specific issues as and when they arise. Leave a comment down below telling me whether or not you'd like me to continue doing the month in review, or if you would just prefer me to focus on specific topics and specific issues as and when they arise. It's going to be kind of interesting going into this year, considering the various upsets and upheavals around defeats in Parliament over here in the UK, or arguments that Trump has been having, the investigations into people in Trump's cabinet who he's either fired or he pushed away after a time. It's going to be interesting to see how all of these things pan out. But beyond that, though, we've had the interesting kind of shift in movements like the social justice movement and the counter movement in regards to the alt-right, and how these extreme ideologically focused kind of semi-political, quasi-political movements have kind of pushed and pulled back and forth throughout the whole year. There were problems before, there were issues on both sides before, the arguments were unbalanced before, people were being insulted and getting slated and things like that. And then this year we've seen some come to the realization that being more moderate makes more sense. We've seen people being more moderate to save their careers. We've seen people being more moderate to try and appeal to greater support. But then we've also seen, especially in certain specific industries that are very openly facing, a shift towards one direction or the other. A greater polarization or division, which is a little unsettling in various ways. We've seen a level of ignorance span out across these areas that have become more divided, purely seemingly to protect their own kind of internal want to be on the right side of history, or on the right side full stop. So we've got those which are really interesting, but again, the biggest problem, and this is where I found a quote from Elon Musk recently, where he called someone an idiot and he said that one of the only times he feels that calling someone an idiot is perfectly acceptable, because if you have a person who is spouting untruths, spouting things that are incorrect or that are just plain stupid, but that person seems smart enough, seems to know what they're talking about enough, then those things that are being spouted can be dangerous, can be harmful, can cause knock-on effects, can allow other people who are more toxic and more negative in after them, opening the door to a flood. And so he said, if that's the case, then calling someone an idiot is what is required to ensure that that person doesn't gain too much power to allow too much negativity to pour in. And so I don't necessarily like the idea of just always slapping someone with the term idiot just because they seem to be wrong. Everyone has to learn, and instantly calling someone an idiot does tend to slow that down. But especially when there's a proven track record, or there's evidence to support that this person isn't going to change their mind, and you've got these ideologies and these worrying ideas that are becoming worse and worse in various ways, then I would agree that calling someone an idiot, pointing out how stupid they can be, as judgmental as it may be, if it's a hard truth, it's a hard truth. And without truth, without that awareness, you can't grow, you can't develop, you can't overcome that obstacle. If you don't know a wall is there, then how do you even expect to get past it or find a door in it? It's an I've said interesting a lot in this video and the last one, but it's one of these things that stands out as being important to keep in mind. If you've got these ideas that are driving people apart, that have obvious and measurable negative consequences, then we need to start questioning them more. We need to start focusing on being more moderate so that we can get a better point of view. Standing on the top of the mountain in the middle of the grid, in the middle of your space, so that you have the best view of the entire area, is going to be far much more useful to you overall than being stood down in the lowlands and only being able to see the mountain in the middle and assuming that the people on the other side are bad because they're not on the same side as you. It's something that we need to keep in mind, that there's always a good idea, even in the worst collectives, even in the worst ideologies, there's at least one good thing. And so trying to find those good things and scraping away the rest of the crap so that we can put those good ideas into practice without everything else that comes with them, that's worth doing. That potentially leads to a better, more functional world. Relying on realism and focusing on that, incredibly important, because otherwise how do you know what you're being told is right or not? That's the beauty of things like science and of maths, of data being put in front of you that you can sift through, that you can measure. It's the same for everybody. It doesn't change just because you want it to change. If you've got a list of demographics, if you've got a list of statistics that are all quantitative and based on numbers, empirical evidence, then it doesn't matter if you're left wing, right wing, a Christian, a Muslim, or a Zen Buddhist monk, or whatever else. It doesn't matter what colour your skin is. It doesn't matter what colour your eyes are, your hair is, which planet you come from. All of these, if you've got that kind of empirical, measurable evidence in front of you, it's the same for everybody. And so that's what you need to pay attention to, that's what you need to look for, that's what you need to sift through. And when, as what we were saying earlier in regards to leaders lying or being cowards and running away or hiding things from us, as with these more toxic and negative ideologies and ideas that are being let loose from both sides of the political spectrum and everywhere else in between, almost, with the exception of the most moderate, uncaring individuals in the middle who just want to live their lives and enjoy it. In regards to all of that, the way to tackle all of it is ask questions. Be skeptical. Don't let someone tell you something that sounds too good to be true and just believe it. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Ask more questions, do more research, find more things, look for more opinions. As I've said, I listen to both the left-hand side of any political argument and the right-hand side, and even if I find both sides repulsive, I will try and engage with both, at least in terms of listening, so that I can try and find the middle ground and try and find out where I need to research to fill myself in so that I can properly compose my own opinion. That's something that's important to keep in mind and to work with. But otherwise, guys, it's been a tough year for everybody to one extent or another. Be you one of these people who's been on some ideological road trip through insanity, or be you someone who's been crushed by the people at the top just leaning down on you. Be you someone who, like me, has been sat here watching it all going, we could fix all of this. We've got thousands of years worth of history for reference to come up with these ideas, to balance out these things, to balance out a discussion, to work together, to make things better. Why aren't we? We've got all of that, and yet we still don't. And so if you're like me and you're sat there going, fucking why? Then, I'm there with you. but I'm going to be hopeful. Maybe it's misguided, maybe it's me being overly optimistic, but I think we can get there. It's just going to take some time to chew through all the crap so that we can just get shot of it. But I'd love to hear what your guys' opinions are of this, as well as also, as I was talking about my year yesterday, and I'll ask for a couple of your opinions there. I'd love to hear what your year has been like with all of this stuff happening. So if you've had a great year, let us know. If you've had a crappy year, let us know. If you've had a year that's been up and down all over the place, I'd love to hear your stories from this year, guys. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video or found it interesting, then please drop us a like, share this video, and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care.